across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening. The weekend starts here, but not until after this show. So good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk, all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 compelling hours of breaking news, challenging views and topical debate. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 03444991000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Tuesday. No, what is it? It's Friday. September the 19th. Here's what's coming up. Why do I keep doing that? Hello, Mike Graham. That's for you next Friday. It is Friday, September the 19th. Here's what's coming up. She's busy boasting today that the one-in, one-out scheme's stunning success in deporting a whole 3 migrants back to France is a huge blow to the people smuggling gangs. Those will be the same people smuggling gangs that today have sent hundreds of illegal foreigners the other way across the Channel to Britain. It is estimated that at least 800 have made their unlawful voyage, but it could be even more. One of those record days. Doesn't seem as if the gangs are suffering too much from Labour's huge blow. One in, one out is supposed to be a deterrent. Didn't really deter any of today's massive number of new arrivals, did it? 03444991000. Labour is gaslighting us. They're gaslighting us, telling us they're getting 3 migrants over to France. By the way, the legal challenges are still going on day in, day out for the others they're trying to get across back to France, return to France. They're trying to sort of act as if, you know, this is it, we've solved it now. Since they launched this scheme in early August, something like 6,000 have come across the Channel, probably more. 6,000. So 6,000 in, 3 out. Good, isn't it? And now they're trying to say, well, that's it. We've broken the back of it now because we've started to get them back to France. And today, an estimated 800 illegally crossed the Channel from France to Britain. And they're trying to say, here we go, yep, we got this under control. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. It insults our intelligence, don't you think? 03444991000. Meanwhile, in yet another Political Asylum exclusive, I'll bring you the truth about our allegedly hard-as-nails, tougher-than-tough new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, who assures us she will stop at nothing to secure our borders. 10 years ago, though, she was part of a do-gooder group welcoming illegal migrants to Europe as they broke into the Greek island of Lesbos. Beaming away, Ms. Mahmood was clearly thrilled about this invasion of chance of foreigners from Africa and the Middle East. And these are the people, of course, who continue that journey all the way to the northern coast of France, and many of them end up here because we are Shangri-La, we are the promised land. Nobody gives migrants more than we do, this country, because we're idiots, that's why. But given that there she was, oh look, we're handing out food, here they come, oh yes, 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 we'll play you the videos in a little while. Is Be Kind Shabana really the kind of person that we can trust to secure our borders? 03444991000. But as Labour hailed the return of a trio of illegals to France and Business Secretary Peter Kyle rejected Donald Trump's advice to bring in the military because, as he put it, we have the border force. A veritable armada of small boats was sailing into the warm embrace of the UK, helped to our shores, of course, by the Border Force water taxi service. And with a plane load of reject French migrants reported to be heading our way tomorrow, millions of Brits, including me, including my guest tonight, my Friday friend, political strategist Pete Barnes, are scratching their heads and asking, what the hell is the point of this nonsense? 3 out, thousands in, not a single one of them deterred from making the 21-mile journey to the promised land in any way whatsoever. 03444991000. And still they come, and still this gormless government gaslights us, pretending they've got the crisis under control. Have they hell? 03444991000. In other news, another exclusive. Find out all about the Baby Lost charity that runs special blacks-only support sessions. Why is this organisation allowed to discriminate on the basis of the colour of people's skins? I think that might be against the law. And in what way, this is the point, is the grief of black parents over the loss of a baby different from the grief of, say, Asian parents or white parents? You tell me. 03444991000. Also tonight, the shocking revelation that Rotherham police knew the names of the town's Pakistani rape gang members for 14 long years before they were finally convicted. While we're on the subject, that full public inquiry into the rape gang scandal Labour promised us. Who's chairing it? When does it start? Where will it be? Or is this uncaring government that never wanted an inquiry in the first place, hoping that we will forget all about it? We won't, will we? 03444991000. And finally, poor old stupid Ed Davey, the biggest joke in Westminster, asked 10 times by Piers Morgan, the science-denying Lib Dem loser, refused to say that a woman cannot have a penis. Ed, even the Labour half-wits have got past this. It's yesterday's gobbledygook. Get with the programme. What's wrong with this guy? Seriously, what is wrong with him? 03444991000. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now, on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday night together. As I said, my Friday friend Pete Barnes is here. In an hour or so, we'll play you an excerpt from my my sit-down interview with Lucy Connolly. She came to our studios yesterday. And at 9 o'clock, of course, it being Friday, it's my TV show, What Just Happened. And we'll play some more of Lucy Connolly's interview in that show as well, because she talked a lot about we have a lot of American viewers to my show, and Australians and Canadians, but the Americans will be very interested in Lucy's views on Charlie Kirk. She spoke long and hard about him, so all of that still to come, but I believe we are about to be joined by Isabel Oakeshott, our international editor. Welcome, Isabel.
Good evening. Are we talking about Ed Davey or not?
No. Well, honestly, we will later in the show. I'm not going to burden you with that. I mean, what is wrong with that? I just said, what exactly is wrong with him?
The short answer is a lot, but then there's another answer to this, which is who cares? He's irrelevant. No one talks about Ed Davey unless they absolutely have to. Well,
I call him stupid just now, and I stick by that. It is stupid to say that a woman can have a penis, or refuse to say that a woman...
Plainly ridiculous.
Yeah. Rupert Lowe is in trouble today for calling him a moron over this issue.
Why?
Well, over this issue, I'll happily repeat it. If you're going to go round and refuse to say that a woman cannot have a penis, you are a moron. It's as simple as that. So thank you, Ed, and good night. But we will be talking about that later on. But you have brought us something in that is far more important than stupid Ed. Now, Shabana Mahmood, as I was saying in my monologue, the reasonably new Home Secretary who came in, and we were told she's hard as nails, tougher than tough.
Yeah.
She immediately started making these speeches. I'll stop at nothing to secure our borders. You know, they said, now she's cut from tougher cloth. You know, never mind about Yvette Cooper, never mind about the rest of the cabinet. This woman is tough, and she really will secure our borders. Well, let's have a look at these videos that you've found. This is Shabana, tough as nails, hard as nails, tougher than tough. Stop the migrants. I'll stop them. This is Shabana Mahmood 10 years ago on the island of Lesbos in Greece. 2 videos. Watch this. First one.
We're just here at Moria camp where there are thousands of refugees staying. We've just been handing out food parcels in 2 separate lines, a very British way of getting everybody to queue, and I think we were moderately successful, and we're just finishing up with the food drop for the evening.
Oh, what fun. Here's another video at the same scene.
Lesbos, where boats have been coming in all day. Around 30 boats have arrived already today. There's a couple of charitable organisations on the ground here, one of whom is offering immediate medical assistance. Many of the people who are coming off are obviously very cold, very wet, and some are in shock. And there's also another organisation here who are offering food and water to the people coming off the boats before they make their way up, a little way up the road from here to a camp where they can start the processing registration process.
Isabel, let's make no bones about this. This was 10 years ago, but that woman, she was an MP then. She's now, of course, our Home Secretary. Hard as nails, tougher than tough. She was celebrating this. She was facilitating this invasion of illegal migrants from the Middle East and Africa that poor old Greece still suffers from. There she is, helping them in, giving them food. You know, in a way, I salute her humanity. Fine, you know, it's not the sort of thing that I would do, but if people are that way inclined, you know, go and help the poor migrants, well, fine. But don't tell me that this woman can be trusted to secure our borders. Her attitudes to migrants, to illegal migrants, are quite clear in those 2 videos. Am I right?
I think that's exactly it. You know, here we see on full display someone who is fundamentally sympathetic towards boat migrants. Now, this happened to be in Greece, and, you know, it was many years ago, as you say. But basically, ideologically, what we're seeing here is somebody who wants to aid and abet and facilitate and accommodate those who enter other countries illegally. That is what she was doing there. She was supporting all the various NGOs and charities and do-gooders to make life better for those people that had entered Greek territory against the law. And this is a massive problem for Greece. And guess what? Greece has got really tough on this lately. And they're not pussyfooting around the Greeks. You know, over the summer, Greece's foreign minister made it very plain that they're not going to make life comfortable for anybody that does this, anybody that effectively invades their country, and such people will be detained and deported, and they actually mean it. And I think that the problem here is one of trust. You know, can we really trust Shabana Mahmood to do what we all know needs to be done, which is stop the boats and deport the people that shouldn't be here in the first place? And what we've seen today is, I think it's about 500 that have come in today.
Actually, I can update you there, Isabel. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We think it's 800.
Well, meanwhile, the Home Secretary is literally insulting our intelligence by posting a video on social media in which she invites us all to applaud her and her government for deporting 2 migrants.
I think it's 3. It's 3 now. Come on, fair's fair. 3. Well, again, we'll get to that in just a little. We'll get to that after the break. But what I want to talk about these 2 videos is, let's remember, she was an MP, a British MP then, and let's put this into context. She made the effort to fly all the way. It's quite hard to get to Lesbos. I've been there myself. Yes. She's flying all the way to Greece to get to that island to essentially welcome and celebrate the arrival of illegal migrants coming in from the Middle East and Africa. Now, that's her politics. I'm not knocking her for that. I'm not criticising her for that. I don't agree with those kind of politics. She's very welcome to do that. That isn't the problem. And she might say, well, I was just showing humanity for my fellow humans in distress. Okay, fine. fine. That isn't the point. You know, I respect that if you want to be like that. She clearly did. She's clearly that sort of person. The problem is, here we are 10 years on, and ever since the day that she took over from Yvette Cooper as Home Secretary, she has been projected to us as hard as nails, tougher than tough, the woman who will, so as she said, I will stop at nothing to secure our borders. Does she really care about borders? I don't think so. In other words, this is more gaslighting by the Labour Party. Can we trust this woman really to try to genuinely try to stop these migrants? Or is the truth about the Labour Party, the Labour cabinet, and Keir Starmer and of course Shabana Mahmood, that secretly, privately, they don't really want to stop these migrants. They like them coming here. It fits in with their no borders ethos. It fits in with their free movement philosophy. That's the problem. Clearly, that's what she's one of those. And therefore, I don't trust
100%,
her. I don't trust her.
100% she is. And you know what? You say that you're being very generous here and saying that's fine. You know, she can trot over to Greece and do this stuff on the beach. If a Greek MP came over and stood on the beaches of Kent, you know, and started welcoming Channel migrants, I'd be pretty pissed off. I'm not going to lie. You know, I would think that was really actually deeply
Point taken. Point taken.
It would be undermining our national security. It would be undermining our own policies for the protection of our borders if we actually had any. And I think that would be very inappropriate. Now, at the time, she was an absolute nobody, so nobody paid it much attention. And also,
still is. Yeah, sorry, I've just got something in my throat there. But go on. Sorry.
Casting back 10 years, we didn't actually have a Channel migrant problem then. So, you know, that didn't attract much attention. But I think it is a very significant video. And I think nobody's got any confidence in her ability or her will to sort this out, whatever she may be huffing and puffing on social media.
And I think, as I say, my point is, look, you know, if you want to be like one of those people, care for Calais and all that, and go to Greece and give them food and say, welcome, you poor suffering people escaping war and torture, liars. But if you want to be one of those people, that's not my bit. I don't agree with it. It's just that they're trying to say right now, Labour are trying to say that she's the very opposite of that. And that is clearly not true. And if you think she's not embarrassed by these videos, check this out. We have been trying all day to get a response from Ms Mahmood from her office. We put this entire story to her. Answer has come there none. There's a shocker, eh?
Because what is there to say? You know, well, what I've changed, or that was...
That's right. I've had a Damascene conversion. I hate migrants now.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, not really.
Yeah. So let me ask the audience. Given what we've just shown you, those two videos, Shabana Mahmood, hello, welcome to Europe. Do you trust her to secure our borders? Do you believe she'll stop at nothing? She's already proved she'll stop at almost everything, not to stop these...
Barely started at anything.
I know. Well, listen, let's go to break now, and we'll come back, of course, as you were alluding to now, to her response to the absolute triumph of getting 3 migrants back to France under the one-in, one-out scheme. I mean, it is beyond farce what that Labour are doing. They've got 3 migrants back. We think, we're pretty certain that tomorrow, a plane load of French reject migrants will come back to us. So then the score, even under the one-in, one-out scheme, will be 3 out, hundreds in. And they're trying to say, there you go, we told you, the one-in, one-out scheme is starting to take effect. It's supposed to be a deterrent. We'll talk about this after this break.
Sir Mark Rowley, in response to the public furore over the arrest of Graham Linehan by 5 armed police officers at Heathrow, again, just for social media posts a few weeks ago, he said that the reason the police were overreacting in this way to complaints about supposedly offensive social media posts is because their hands are tied. The law in this area is unclear.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. But as you were alluding to before the break, while we were discussing Shabana Mahmood's migrant-loving past, it's champagne time, as I said, as the government gets a third illegal migrant back to France on its one-in, one-out scheme. Now, the point is, as I said, millions of Brits around the country, including me, including Pete Barnes, who's looking incredibly smart today. He's making me feel like, look at him.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I made the effort.
I feel like a scarecrow
I
sitting
saw Isabel
here.
was on, so I made the effort.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I told him that you were on, Isabel, so he put his best suit on.
I have that effect on people.
Yeah, you do. But seriously, this is so millions of Brits around the country. While Peter Kyle says. We don't need the military. Donald Trump is wrong about that. We've got the Border Force. The Border Force is a water taxi service that brings them in. I imagine today the Border Force will be bringing these 800 migrants or more into Dover, as they usually do. Probably the lifeboat service, the RNLI boats are out there also water taxiing the migrants into this country. So that's total gaslighting. No, we don't need the military because we've got the Border Force and we've given them new powers. What, you mean you've made them a bit bigger so they can get more people onto their water taxis or something like that? But the main baffling nature of this one in, one out is, first of all, numerically, it never was going to solve anything. The government the whole basis of the migrant crisis or the nature of the crisis is numerical. We've got too many illegal migrants coming into our country. So what is solved by suddenly saying to France, look, if we give you one of ours, we'll take one of yours. So the numerical nature of the problem is not even addressed. But what they say is, well, if Keir Starmer, well, if you send 1 in 17 back, that will send a message, and all the migrants will be terrified in case they're the 1 in 17. No, they won't, and today proves it. So the deterrent is a nonsense. 800 have come across today. Where's the deterrent effect? What on earth is 1 in, 1 out all about, apart from being a total waste of money?
I mean, I genuinely kind of can't stop laughing about it because it is so beyond parody. I mean, if it wasn't so serious, genuinely, it is just actually comical, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it would never have solved the problem because it takes the position as of this instant that anyone that comes in will swap for one that goes out. What about the massive backlog of people that shouldn't be in here in the first place? Are we just going to just do some kind of amnesty for all of those? What happens? Yeah. Do they ever get chucked out? And in a sense, I'm not sure that we're swapping like for like anyway, because we're sending back in exchange one that we think might probably not have qualified for leave to remain here, but they're sending us one that definitely has been pre-approved. So in a sense, we're actually worse off, even if it was 1 for 1, which we all know it isn't.
Yeah, except they're sending us a plane load, apparently.
I mean, just actually, you know, under any other circumstances, if the threshold for prime ministerial or ministerial resignation hadn't been raised to such an impossibly high bar, a Home Secretary would have to resign over this. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Home Secretaries having, well, certainly Home Office ministers having resigned over immigration blunders, which were far, far, far less important than this. You know, things over visas. You know, there have been actually a number of immigration ministers that have had to resign in the past. This is scandalous. It is completely scandalous. And yet they gaslight us, putting out tweets saying this is all a great success.
I know, it's like they're you know, in Alice in Wonderland territory or something. But Pete Barnes and I were saying earlier that there is no Labour crisis or scandal that cannot be made worse by sending Peter Kyle out on the media round. I mean, he is astonishing. No, we don't need the military, we've got the border force. Oh, great, Pete, thanks for that.
I was going to say.
Anyway, let's now play what I would call the video of the day. This is Shabana Mahmood, our friend Shabana, migrants' friend. Shabana, off to Lesbos. Migrants' friend Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, hailing the triumph of getting 3 migrants back to France. Take it away, Shabs!
For years, smuggling gangs have run illegal and deadly small boat channel crossings. Their pitch to migrants was the false promise that if you cross our border illegally, you can stay here. Today, we have dealt a blow to those gangs. In August, the government struck a historic agreement with the French government. Now, 8 weeks later, the first forced removals of small boat migrants are underway. In return, we will soon accept the first legal migrants into this country, following strict security and eligibility checks. When I became Home Secretary, I said I will do whatever it takes to secure our borders. Today marks an important and historic first step.
I'll give her 6 months. I mean, I've dealt a blow to the people smuggling gangs. As I said in my monologue, would those be the same people smuggling gangs that today sent 800 or so migrants to Britain on small boats illegally? Would they be the same gangs that the government has dealt a huge blow to? Because it doesn't seem like it's that big of a blow, does it?
It's not even a feather flutter. I mean, how she can actually stand in front of the camera and say that stuff, it is genuinely jaw-dropping.
It is, isn't it?
I actually think that is one of the most staggeringly dishonest and brazenly misleading videos I have ever seen from a government minister. It is, I mean, somewhere between comical and scandalous and disgraceful. It is simply a set of lies. And how it's become acceptable in modern politics to just stand there as a minister at that level and lie to the public in that unashamed fashion, I don't know, but it tells you something about how far politics have fallen and standards in public life.
And to go with sort of basics, really, she said, I'll stop at nothing to solve this migrant crisis.
Not true.
Well, so far, she hasn't stopped giving all illegal migrants 50 quid a week as soon as they arrive. She hasn't stopped putting them into 4-star hotels. She hasn't stopped giving them free doctors. She hasn't stopped giving them free dentists. She hasn't stopped giving them free lawyers to fight their cases to stay. So there's a lot of things she hasn't stopped at. She hasn't stopped at detain and deport. She hasn't stopped at turning the boats around, and so on and so forth. Of course, the main thing she won't do is leave the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. Now, I always say, look, if we leave the ECHR, I think we have to. Don't imagine that will solve our migrant crisis, but unless we have to begin to solve it, unless we leave the ECHR and are able to make our own sovereign decisions that nobody can supersede, nobody, we can't solve this crisis. Shabana Mahmood does not want to leave the ECHR, nor does Keir Starmer. Therefore, this government is doomed to just tinker round the edges as migrants continue to pour across the channel. That is the truth.
Well, I don't know where this ends then, because I don't think the British people, I don't think voters are going to put up with this for another 3.5 to 4 years. I just don't. I think that it's already at boiling point. We've seen multiple bits of evidence that show just how much of on a knife edge this situation is. So, you know, how is this going to play out? Because I just don't think it's obviously not sustainable. If we've had 800 people-ish come in today, there's still another couple of months of quite decent clement weather for more to come over at this level. And we know from last year that they didn't stop coming just because it was the winter months. I mean, I just don't see how this government can possibly continue fobbing us off with these completely absurd non-policies. It's just not going to work. And the other thing about leaving the ECHR, which of course we must do, is even if you had a prime minister that was fully committed to doing so, it's actually quite a process. You know, it'd be nice to think, and I'm the sort of person like saying, oh, well, we can just do that tomorrow, you know, let's just sign out of it. But I think all the people that are campaigning to leave the ECHR and have looked at this in detail will tell you that it's going to take months to kind of extract ourselves. So that means that even if there's a new government in 3.5 or 4 years' time, are we still going to have, you know, 800 migrants a day coming over on good weather days? I mean, what is going to be of our country by then?
Exactly. And when we talk about Shabana Mahmood and Peter Kyle and, of course, Keir Starmer gaslighting us, we're being kind in a way. What they're doing is they're staring us in the face and lying through their teeth.
Yes.
They are lying to us. And as you say, I think that the British people are at boiling point about this. They've had enough of this. So they can't go on like this. And tomorrow, if it's true, and we understand it is, that a plane load of French reject migrants will touch down in Britain. You know, so the score, even under this ridiculous scheme, won't be 1 in, 1 out. It'll be 3 out, you know, 120 in. People are just going to go mad. It's just ridiculous. It's beyond fast. You couldn't make it up. But Isabel, listen, you've had a barnstorming week. You brought this show several fantastic stories. You brought the station some fantastic stories. So I suggest you go and have a drink and celebrate a marvellous week. Thank you very much. We'll talk on Monday. That's the great Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor. Let me know what you think about all this. I mean, if anyone can explain to me, or Pete, what the 1 in, 1 out scheme is supposed to be all about, I would be very grateful. It just seems to me to be an absolute pile of gobbledygook. Even if it was working, you know, they were talking about, oh, we'll get 50 a week out. Oh, well, yeah, that's all right. 800 came in today alone. So numerically, it's pointless. The idea, as I say, Keir Starmer's notion of it is this, that if migrants think that they have even a small chance of being deported, the 1 in 17, that will deter them. Well, we found out today, in fact, we've been finding out since the scheme began in early August, it doesn't deter them. It just isn't. It is not a deterrent. So what is it for? If it's not a deterrent, it is utterly pointless. Let me know what you think. 03444991000. When we come back, me and Pete will discuss I mean, potentially what I think is racism. It's a charity, a baby loss charity, good cause, you know, parents who lose babies, sometimes in pregnancy, sometimes just after pregnancy. Very, very devastating. So this is a support charity to help people in a terrible state of grief over the loss of their little children. Fine. Why on earth would they be running blacks only support sessions? Only blacks can come to these ones. Do they do whites only sessions? Do they do Asians only sessions? Chinese only sessions, Japanese only? Do they, or is it just blacks? We talked to the charity. I'll bring that story. We've got a guest on it as well. So stay tuned and we'll tell you all about it after this break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to talk now about a charity. I very much approve of this charity, at least in principle. It's called SANDS, as in SANDS. And it's a baby loss charity. It's a charity that supports parents in that dreadful state of grief that uniquely occurs after the loss of a baby, perhaps in pregnancy, perhaps just after pregnancy. Very, very worthy cause. Now, on Wednesday, the 24th of September, they have a online support. It's online support meeting, 7:30 until 9 p.m. Wednesday, the 24th of September, 7:30 until 9 p.m. And it's for blacks only, black people only. What? Now, so. My first question about this was, well, what is the difference between the grief that black people feel over the loss of a baby and the grief that, for example, say, Asian people feel over the loss of a baby, or white people feel over the loss? What the hell is the difference? Why would you need a special group for blacks? And this seems to me to border on, well, it doesn't really border on, this seems to be discriminating against non-black people on the grounds of the colour of their skin. Last time I looked, that's called racism. We've got a quote from the charity, but before we read that out to you, let's go over to Reform UK councillor Oliver Freeston, who spotted this and brought it to our attention. Oliver, thank you for that. What is your feeling about this?
It's racism. It's not bordering on. It's racism 100%. And I think the Charity Commission need to look into this. I think it's awful to parents, white parents, who have lost children, to say
and
that
indeed Asian, you know.
And indeed everybody, right?
Everybody who's not black.
Yeah. Losing a child is traumatic. A very close friend of mine, she lost a child. And when I told her about it, she was distraught. And she said, even if the Equality Act allows for positive discrimination if certain groups don't have access or equal access. But I'm afraid NHS maternity services is the same whether you're black, white, brown or yellow. So this is wrong. This is literally favouring black parents. And my thought is, well, perhaps they're saying that culturally people might have different experiences. Well, black isn't a culture, right? So, you can have black British people, white British people with the exact same culture. I'm afraid if they want to positive discriminate because they think that, a particular group is going to have different needs, well, actually, why not get everybody together and share experiences and show that actually we're all equal and we can all learn from one another?
Let me tell you, Oliver, in my view, there are certain emotions, certain events that are universal, that actually unite the human race. And the loss of a baby is one of those events, is one of those emotions. You cannot tell me that black people suffer a different kind of grief to white people or Asian people when they lose their baby. It is exactly the same. So I cannot for the life of me see why SANS Baby Loss Charity needs to have blacks only support sessions. So let me read out what how they've advertised this. We understand that the journey of grief for bereaved parents and families affected by pregnancy or baby loss can be shaped by unique cultural factors. I don't think that's at all true. Going back to what they say, that's why it is so important to offer support that truly reflects and respects those experiences, creating safe, welcoming spaces where people from black communities can come together, share their stories and feel seen, heard and supported. In addition to our general support services, SANS offers dedicated online support meetings for black communities. The next one takes place on Wednesday the 24th of September. So there you go. In addition to their general support services, that will be, presumably for white people, for Asian people, Chinese people, Japanese people. They've got special, it looks like everyone else is lumped into the, a general category. So while it seems that they're contending is that everybody else in the world suffers exactly the same grief when they lose a baby, but black people suffer a different kind of grief. That is beyond my comprehension. Yours, Oliver?
I mean, what about white mothers and fathers? Are we saying that we don't suffer from it? I think it's insulting, and I think, I'm not really one to ever use the offensive card, but to parents in a delicate situation such as this, I think it is offensive, and I think it's something that people are rightly entitled to be offended of. And I think that the SANS, what's obviously set out as a great charity and great mission, they need to relook at their objectives. But I went on their website and their own objectives state that they aim to be a welcoming community and inclusive. Well, how is segregation based on race inclusive?
This is segregation based on the colour of people's skins. That's discrimination. That's racism. We got in touch with SANS today, and SANS spokesman, they thanked us for getting in touch, and this is what they've said. This is a spokesperson. SANS is here for everyone touched by pregnancy and baby loss. Many of our channels, such as the free national helpline, email support chat and resources, are here for anyone who has been affected, including parents, other family members, friends, colleagues and health professionals. Pregnancy and baby loss affects all communities. Thank you. And everyone grieves in a way that is unique to them and the experiences surrounding them. We know that some Black and South Asian bereaved parents may have additional experiences that include language barriers and cultural customs, rituals and myths. That can cause a further sense of isolation and loneliness. That's why we have created these dedicated, safe and confidential spaces so that everyone can get the support they need in a way that's right for them. So they're essentially saying that yes, in fact, this is just, the actual meeting is just for black people, but they've sort of factored in South Asian people there all of a sudden. So they talk about confidential spaces so that everyone can get the support they need. But white people or Asian people or Chinese people or Japanese people, they can't go to this meeting. And frankly, I don't really get what their statement is all about. They shouldn't be doing this, should they?
No, not at all. I mean, they said that additional language barriers. Well, then in that case, have a group that's set up to help people with language problems. Not all black people can't speak English. What they're trying to do here is cover up for what is clearly a racist and discriminatory practice. You know, I said earlier about their objectives. The third objective, to ensure that everyone has equal access to excellent bereavement care. Well, white mothers and fathers don't have equal access.
Also, Oliver, remember this as well. There's a lot of white people in this country who can't speak English either. They have language problems as well. So
100%, you hit the nail on the head.
You see what I mean? Oliver, thank you so much for bringing this to us. I think it's an important story, and we'll be in touch again soon. That's Oliver Freeston, Reform UK councillor. We haven't got much time, but very quickly, Pete Barnes, your thoughts on that?
Okay, so this really boils down to three important things. The people that believe in this think that any amount of kind of discrepancies is because of bigotry. They believe that any kind of difference in health outcomes is because of racism. So, and that's what they're really going after here. And one of the big problems is that even if by saying it's for black people, there's a lot of different types of black people and a lot of different cultures within that. So even that itself is too broad a category to start making these claims, because again, causation is not the same as perception. You may believe that something happened because of a racist incident. That doesn't mean that it's true. You can't prove health outcomes based on a perception.
And what they're saying here is, oh, well, it's linguistic problems. Well, a lot of Asian people have linguistic problems. A lot of white people have linguistic problems. This is singling out black people for some kind of special treatment and to use the horrible, fashionable vernacular. This is the opposite of inclusive, isn't it?
That is the woke through and through, isn't it? Is that inclusivity means exclusive. It means to push away the majority, and that's what it's all built on. And it is to divide and divide and divide.
Exactly right. So let me know what you think about that. A charity seems to think I just want to stress that point again. I don't believe for a second that different races, people with different kinds of colours of skin, suffer a different kind of grief when they lose their baby. That is universal. It must be universal.
Do you know, just really interesting on that point, there is no word in the English language to describe a parent who has lost a child. It is that horrific of a situation. There is not a specific word.
That's interesting. Devastated, I would suggest. Well, let me know what you think, folks. 0344 499 1000. And when we come back, we need to discuss this shocking story that's just emerged today in Rotherham. Turns out that the police, the grooming gang, the rape gang scandal, the police in Rotherham knew all the names of the rape gang members, mostly Pakistani men, Muslim men of Pakistani origin, for 14 years before they were convicted. So in other words, the police let them get on with their nefarious raping and torturing and drugging of vulnerable young white girls for 14 years before they did anything about it. Unbelievable. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
So Mark Rowley, in response to the public furore over the arrest of Graham Linehan by 5 armed police officers at Heathrow, again, just for social media posts a few weeks ago, he said that the reason the police were overreacting in this way to complaints about supposedly offensive social media posts is because their hands are tied. The law in this area is unclear.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Pete Barnes. Pete, we'll have to be fast on this one, but it is a massive story that for 14 years, police in Rotherham knew the names of great rape gang members. And they knew this was going on and did nothing. Yeah. So it took 14 years for anyone to be convicted. This town, the South Yorkshire town of Rotherham, in the Alexis J report published in 2014, found that at least 1,400 children, some as young as 11, had been victims of grooming gangs there between 1997 and 2013. This was due to a whistleblowing complaint by youth worker Jane Senior, this new information, and former strategic drugs analyst Angie Heal. They were told their complaint was successful in June 2022, but the report has not been published until now because the force objected to the findings. Their objections have been thrown into the rubbish bin, quite rightly. The Independent Office for Police Conduct has now upheld the complaint on the basis that over a number of years it appears that South Yorkshire Police had actionable intelligence which senior officers could and should have addressed and taken responsibility for, but there was no coordination. In other words, they turned their backs. The story that we knew, and very, very quickly, that the excellent Jane Senior and Angie Heal said today in a statement, this has been a 7-year campaign and fight for us to get senior officers finally held to account. We are disappointed that they have still not yet been named. Name them and convict them, prosecute them.
100%. This is not a failure. This is a betrayal. The system has now been proved that it looked the other way. There is, children's lives were ruined. Where is the accountability? Where is it? This is my big problem with all of these individual kind of investigations, all the rest of it. Nobody's being named, no handcuffs are going on, and nobody's being thrown in prison, and the keys aren't being thrown away. This is a real problem when we look at this national grooming gangs and with the real teeth of it. Are we really going to get justice? Because that's what victims need. They don't need lessons learned. They don't need things upheld. They need justice. Absolutely. And that includes people going to prison.
And the whole story is, I think we'll come back to this a little later in the show, the whole story of this, the whole story of the rape gang scandal were that the police officers, teachers, social workers, local councillors, the local authorities all turned their back and allowed kids to be raped and to be drugged and to be tortured. They allowed the rape gangs to pursue their nefarious actions. And to this day, not a single one of those awful people who turned their back because they thought that if we start going for this Pakistani Muslim rape gangs, we'll be accused of racism. So they felt that the possibility that they could be accused of racism or Islamophobia was more important than protecting these vulnerable young white girls who were being raped, tortured and abused. And that is a scandal, and the real scandal is this. To this day, not a single one of these awful people who turned their backs has been brought to justice. None of them investigated, none of them prosecuted, none of them charged, and that is a scandal.
A scandal, but the other one is that these institutions are going after the whistleblowers. They have tried to silence the people who are brave. Yes, 100%. They have tried to silence the people brave enough to bring this evidence forward, and the institutions have tried to protect themselves. That's the real nefarious bit here.
Yeah.
You know, that these institutions know what they were doing, and they've tried to protect themselves, and I think it is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, so there's the South Yorkshire Police trying to stop this complaint, which was upheld, being published, because they said, oh, it's not true. It is true. It is true. We will come back to this story later in the show because it is a serious scandal. Let me know what you think. 03444991000. After the news, we're going to play some of my interview with Lucy Connolly. So stay tuned for that. She, of course, went to jail for posting hurty words on Twitter after the Southport riots. It's an extraordinary story. I hope you enjoy it. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Yesterday I sat down with Lucy Connolly. Lucy Connolly, of course, is the poor lady who... She lost her temper. She lost her temper during the Southport riots. She lost her own son a year before, and she was empathising, sympathising. She lost her temper because she felt so sorry for the three mothers who lost their children in that awful slaughter in the dance hall up in Southport. So I sat down with her. We talked about her time in prison, her shock. This is a lady, by the way, who until she went to jail for posting nasty words on Twitter. She doesn't condone that. She says she made a mistake. She took down that tweet. But this is a woman who, until then, her biggest crime was one speeding ticket. That's it. So this is me interviewing Lucy Connolly. In the studio, a very special lady. Someone that I almost feel like I know because I've reported on her day in, day out ever since she became the victim of what I think is a terrible affront to freedom of speech. She got sent to jail 2 years and 7 months Well, first of all, Lucy, let's talk about why you posted that tweet, because you have a personal story. Harry, your son, died due to NHS negligence. It was a mistake on the part of our health service. He would have turned 16 last week. Now, you saw what happened in Southport. You heard about, you know, this awful, awful carnage, the murder of these poor little girls. And as a mother who'd lost her son, you were filled with rage for the mothers of those poor little girls. Would that be an accurate summary of the way you were feeling when you posted that tweet?
Definitely anger at the whole situation, you know, and anger at the fact that it was allowed to happen, that anger at the fact that how could these parents drop their babies off at a dance class and never get to pick them up, that we shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't be living a life like that. And I've recently, actually this week, was reading, I think it was in the Liverpool Echo, some quotes from some of the mums, because there's an inquiry going on, and she said exactly that. I just want to give her a big hug and you know, and just say it's not your fault, because I get it. She's, you know, she blames herself. You know, it was my idea to send her there. You know, we're good parents. We just sent her there to make bracelets and dance, and she never got to come home. And this nightmare never ends. And that's what people don't get. Yeah. This nightmare never does end. Unfortunately, you know, you build a new life, but it is a life sentence of grief, and you know, and it was so preventable. Yeah, it's just horrific. And what you tweeted was words to the effect of "Send them home. I don't care. Call me a racist if you like. We've got to get these people out of the country." And therefore, the charge against you was inciting violence. Actually, the original charge, and the charge that I pled guilty to, didn't even use the word violence. The original charge was, on that day, I published written material that could have incited racial hatred or stirred up racial hatred. The word violence isn't actually used in my charge. That's another story in itself, because that kind of came later down the line. Oh, by the way, the Crown are prosecuting you on a 1A category, 1A, with intent to stir up serious violence. And all along I was saying, but that's not what I pled guilty to. That's not in the charge. If you read the charge on the charge sheet, that you know, when they read out that charge in the court, do you plead guilty or not guilty? The word violence is not used in that charge. It could have, you could have stirred up racial hatred. That's the charge. Because of course you posted this tweet, and then only about 3 or 4 hours later, you thought better of it. I assume you sort of calmed down. Yeah, so... And then you took it down, didn't you? But by then it had 300,000 views or something. Yes, so you thought that would be the end of the matter? Actually, yeah, I didn't. Yeah, and I did think it was the end of the matter, because it didn't like kind of rear its ugly head again for another week. So I posted on the actual day, literally within hours of it coming out that these children had been, you know, massacred, and I was so upset. Wrote what I wrote, you know, went out, calmed down, thought better of it, and I thought, even though I'm still really angry and I'm really upset and this isn't okay, I can't write that, that's not okay to write that, take it down. So that's what I did. Didn't engage in any of the comments, didn't do anything. I just went onto Twitter, deleted it. Didn't think anything more of it, really didn't, until a week later, and then it kind of became some kind of like political movement against me. But a whole week went past from deleting that tweet and nothing had been said, and I was just, you know, carrying on Twitter as normal, like oblivious to the fact that somebody had screenshotted it and then was gonna, you know. And so a week later, the police got in touch? They did. So that, I think it was by phone, or did they come around your house? No, they came, they just turned up at the house and... They just knocked on your door? Yeah, well, I was just coming back and just dropping Edie at the golf club, and I said, who's at the door? She checked the camera and she said, it's the police, and I thought, oh, here we go. But to be honest, I just thought they were going to come and give me, you know, tell me off. I didn't think for 1 minute they were going to arrest me there and then, and they were actually just leaving. So I went over to them and I said, oh, you just knocked on my door, I think you're looking for me. That's the irony of it. And they were like, yes, can we come in? I said, of course, you know, thinking, I'm going to get, you know, a rollick in here. And, oh no, we're straight away, we're arresting you, da-da-da-da-da-da. So you were arrested? I was arrested there and then, you know, they... Did they take you to the police station? Yeah, so I obviously had my daughter at home and I had a couple of minded children there. So I had to shout a neighbour at the window. Because you're a carer? Yeah, I'm a childminder. So I had a couple of my minded children there as well. So I had to get hold of Ray and get him to come home, look after the children. So the police were hanging around for quite a while because I had to, obviously, I couldn't just leave the children. Ridiculous. So you must have felt with a kind of growing sense of horror
that this is getting serious. This
Yeah.
is getting serious. And let's just stress again, prior to this, I think you told me you've had one speeding ticket in your life. That was your only crime ever.
Yeah.
So this was unfamiliar territory to you. And presumably after you were arrested, how soon were you charged?
So I was arrested on the Tuesday, so it's almost a week after I sent the original tweet. They let me out that night and said there was not enough evidence to charge me, and let me out on bail with conditions not to post on social media, which I kept to, I didn't. They came back for me on Friday morning around 7 in the morning. I was just putting my bins out, hadn't even dried my hair. There was 2 police officers at my door. We're rearresting you. I was like, why? They said, you need to come with us. And then it turned out, well, they told me they had new evidence. So what had happened was the original complainant that had reported my tweet had then obviously was not very happy about the fact that they'd released me on the Tuesday, and then presented them with tweets that some of them went way back on my Twitter, maybe a year or 2 ago. So he was obviously watching everything I was saying and doing. It's a bit weird, really. But so
there are people like that out there, Lucy,
so he
I'll tell you.
presented with the police with these tweets that he perceived to be racist. You know, one of them where I called my friend a derogatory name, where he'd called me one first. It was just banter between two friends. One of them where I'd said, you know, that it happened that there was a guy around the same time. There'd been a guy in a local park next to me. He was an immigrant and he got arrested for masturbating over children in the park. So it was a conversation about that. I'd put a sick face and I said he's Somalian, I guess, because he was Somalian, he looked Somalian. It was just a description, but apparently, you know, that's racist. You can't use that anymore. You can't point out that somebody looks to be Somalian, and apparently you can't say that it's sick that a grown man is, you know, masturbating over children in the park. Apparently that's racist too.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah, they came back at me, and then they kept me in the cells all day. And I remember, like, I'd been really polite and really calm the whole time. But by this point, it kind of like 8 o'clock at night. I was like, I want to go home now. I want to go home now. No, you can't. We're just waiting. I said, you're doing this on purpose. Like, just let me go home.
It would have been.
So anyway, about 9 o'clock that night, they came and got me and charged me with the charge that they charged me. And I was just like,
that was inciting racial hatred.
Yes,
no mention of violence.
No, the word violence is not used in my charge.
Okay. Well, let's fast forward to so you end up in court, but more to the point, was your lawyer, was that legal aid?
Yeah, some of it was, some of it wasn't.
Your lawyer advised you to plead guilty.
He did.
Because this was the message for those of you watching abroad around the world. This was the message given to all the defendants. 385 people ended up in jail after those summer riots, the summer of 24. Of those, 12 were for tweets, but all 385 for tweets, Facebook, social media posts. All 385 of them were advised by their lawyers, look, plead guilty and they'll go easy on you. So you were told that, right?
Yep.
You go to court, plead guilty, and they give you 2 years and 7 months. What did you feel like at that moment?
I was really shocked. I was expecting a custodial sentence.
Were you?
Yeah, because they'd made that quite clear. Regardless of mitigating circumstances, they weren't interested in anything that had gone on or any mitigation or anything like that. They'd made it quite clear before they knew anything that I was, as Judge Crane said, I was going to be serving a lengthy custodial sentence. But after, you know, discussions with my lawyer and stuff, you know, he was like, well, you know, you're probably looking at about 2 years with tag and all that. You'll be, your time served, you'll be out by Christmas. So I was thinking, right, well, I'll be out by Christmas then. No. And then obviously I had my credit, so my 25% for going guilty.
Right.
But all the judge did was added it on the other end.
Really?
He said, well, had you have gone to trial and been found guilty, the starting point would have been this, so that's where I'm going to go from. But the whole point of putting your guilty plea in is to get your credit. But actually pleading guilty for me was.
Well, I think that the consensus is that you and the other 384 people who went to jail were all conned. That the government, the authorities here were waiting to, you know, throw the house at you. And so you get sentenced, you get taken to prison. You went to Peterborough jail. Well, tell us, what was your first experience like? What was your first night there like? It must have been horrific.
It was. I was absolutely terrified, to the point the prison officer that booked me in was like, I've never ever seen anyone look so terrified, Lucy, as what you did when you came in. But to be fair, they were lovely. Most of the prison officers at Peterborough are lovely.
Okay.
You know, they really
That's
are
nice.
quite kind and good at their job. So she made me feel at ease. But, you know, I just didn't know. And I remember walking in thinking, oh, this isn't quite like how I expected. It's not kind of how you see it on the telly in these American programs and stuff. It's a bit nicer.
It's never like it is on the TV. It never is.
But yeah, I got in fairly late at night, so I was just locked in a cell and, you know, and told, you know, we'd be let out the following morning. So you can imagine I was absolutely terrified.
Yeah. And while you were in there, I mean, you at one point you were manhandled. They switched you to a more severe wing, ominously called the Bronx wing. Why did they switch you from that to the violent, dangerous criminals?
Long story short, I'd come back from Drake Hall because I'd been in Drake Hall for a few months, transferred back to Peterborough at my request because I preferred Peterborough to Drake Hall. It was near.
Hang on, so I didn't realise you went to two jails.
Yeah, so I went to.
Your first jail was
Peterborough.
Was Peterborough. Okay.
Then I went to Drake Hall for a few months, and then I went back to Peterborough. So I'd come back from Drake Hall.
What was Drake Hall like?
It wasn't for me. It's a bit more feral than Peterborough. It's more open.
Right. So you actually requested to go back to Peterborough?
Yeah, so I requested to go back to Peterborough.
And they at least did that for you?
Yeah, so they let me go back. And then, so everyone gets put on induction wing. Whoever you are, whatever you are, when you first get into prison, you all put on an induction wing, and then it's decided based on your character or your offence or whatever, which wing they're going to put you on. But obviously they knew me well at Peterborough. I'd never even had so much as what they call a red IEP, which is like a telling off, if you like.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go on the enhanced wing, which was where I was supposed to be going just before I left Peterborough. They used to literally ask me every day to move on there, and I'd be like, no, I'm happy where I am. And it became a bit of a running joke, you know, that I wouldn't move there. And then, so I came back and I said to the officer, can I come onto your wing? She said, yeah, there's 2 people moving on Tuesday, I'll come and get you. Anyway, Tuesday went, Wednesday came, and then another officer like thrust some bags at me as I was leaving my cell to go on a visit, actually, to see my friend, and said, you need to pack your bags, you're moving. I said, oh, what, to E1, to enhance? No, to A2. I said, no, I'm going to enhance. That's what's been agreed. That's what they've told me. I can go there. I was just waiting for a space. No, you haven't passed security. And I said, why haven't I passed security? Intel. And I said, well, I find that very hard to believe, given that they used to ask me every day to go there before I left Peterborough. I said, I haven't been up to, any mischief while I was gone. I said, so can you tell me what that is, please? No, I can't. Anyway, long story short, they moved. They said, no, you're going. They nicked me because I said, well, I'm not going to A2. I'm not going upstairs. It's the Bronx. I said,
Is that when they manhandled you?
Yeah,
they
so
forced you up the stairs.
They nicked me. I went to the nicking, and the governor told me that I thought I was better than everybody else, and I was no better than anyone else in that prison, and I would be moving to A2. So I just sat on the floor and cried. So with that, 3 of them, 4 of them, I think there was about 7 of them at one point on me, bent me up. He dragged me up the stairs and were like, you will go to A2. But apparently that's all right. That's reasonable and proportionate force according to them.
So A2 was nicknamed the Bronx Wing. and what was it like in there?
Yeah, do you know what? It was actually OK in the end. It wasn't too bad.
So you became sort of famous for this, if you know what I mean. And as I understand it, because of that, you're a young mum, and mothers are kind of quite regularly allowed weekend visits to their kids. You're allowed out for the weekend.
Yeah.
But you never got that, did you? And what reason did they give you for treating you differently to other young mums? What did they say?
So the first one, Peterborough's first excuse was, you're too high press interest, we can't let you out because of the press. But if you read...
That's our fault.
Yeah, your fault. If you read the Ministry of Justice guidelines for ROTLs, they call it release on temporary licence, childcare ROTLs, doesn't say anything about them. I hit the bar for every single criteria. They said, this is what you need to be able to go on ROTLs, low risk to the public, sentence, this, that, the other.
ROTL, what does that mean?
Release on temporary licence.
Oh, right, yeah. And your little girl is called
Edie. She
Edie.
was 12 at the time.
And so you assumed that you would at least, I don't know, once a month or something?
Yeah, you build it up. So you start off on once a month, then as time goes on, you get a few more days, and you can work it up to four nights a month.
A two-pronged question here. How did you feel when they didn't let you do this? And possibly more importantly, how did Edie feel?
Oh, she was devastated. She kept saying to me, "Mummy, can you come home near Christmas? Can you get bottled? Can you come home on my birthday?" And like, no, darling, I can't. Why not? Because they won't let me. You know, stupidly, we'd mentioned to her that hopefully I'd be able to come home. We were just trying to give her some positivity, you know, be able to come home. But no.
Was she able to come and see you?
Yeah, she did. They came most weeks.
So Ray and Edie came to see. And so, I mean, I've spoke to Ray and about Edie and you know, the strain he went through. I mean, that must have been a worry for you, because I personally witnessed the strain and the stress that Ray was going through. He was very broken by it. What did you feel about that?
It was horrific. That was the worst part for me. Like, I could have done prison quite easily if it wasn't for my family. But I had a child at home and a husband that, you know, when the mother and the wife just disappeared overnight, you know, he didn't even know our mortgage was with, you know, because I sorted out all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I see. You're the...
He was like thrown in the deep end, you know. He had to deal with what everything was going on with me, keep Edie on the straight and narrow, keep the house, work 2 jobs. It was a lot for him. He's not very well either. Yeah. It was a lot.
And how is Edie now? I mean, how did it affect her throughout your...
She's very angry, I think, over it.
That?
She doesn't,
well, that's kind of good, I think.
Yeah, she's like... It has a massive negative effect on her, and that's do you know what? That's the person it hurt the most. Yeah. Is my child.
And how did you feel? So, as I say, people like me, politicians, you know, we were doing our best to plead your case. I believe I'm right in saying that the only politician who actually came to visit you was Richard Tice.
Tice, yeah.
Deputy Leader of Reform UK, a friend of mine, actually. Did you feel abandoned?
I don't think I felt abandoned, because I knew that there were a lot of people on the outside, you know, jumping up and down at the fact that I was in prison and trying to help me and trying to get me out, and people but Keir Starmer didn't care. I mean, I think even Trump had something to say. President Trump had something to say about it.
Yeah, you got.
And if he can't do anything about it,
Keir Starmer not only didn't care, he fully approved of your imprisonment.
Yeah, absolutely.
He made a big thing of it. But you would not have witnessed this. But at one point, you may have caught up with it since your release. But incredibly, I mean, you became famous. You were always in the papers. Front page sometimes, often on the TV, often on the radio. When Keir Starmer was interviewed about or was sort of pressed on your case, somebody said, what about, he was on one of these prime ministerial visits to a factory or something. And a TV journalist said, what about the Lucy Connolly case? Do you think she should be in jail? And he went, I'm not familiar with that case. He pretended he didn't.
I don't believe that for one second.
No, daughter, why? He was lying again. So, you know, but what he did go on to say was, he fully approved of jailing people who incite racial hatred and violence. So, you know, he was never going to be on your side. What annoyed me personally about the Tories, Kemi Badenoch, quite a few of them did stand up and say, the way you were being treated wasn't fair. But their only point was this. They said, oh, well, you know, she should be allowed to go back and see her kid, her little daughter, which, of course, you should have been. But the Tories stopped short of saying what they should have done, which, in my view, is you should never have been in jail.
Which is why the Tories lost the last election and they won't be getting in again anytime soon.
Because wasn't Ray a Conservative councillor?
Yeah, he still is.
Is he?
I mean, he had 2 seats. He lost one to Reform in the last elections, and he managed to hold on to the other one.
So when you say about the Tories, you know, they should have supported you to the hilt, if you ask me. And you obviously have formed a relationship now with Reform. Didn't Ray think of coming with you?
He might well do, yeah. You never know.
You're still working on it.
I'm still working on him, yeah.
So in terms of Reform, you're going to work with them as a sort of free speech advocate?
Well, I hope so. And, you know, I do think that the sensible thing to do is to work with the people that you think are going to get, you know, in power in government next. I'm certainly not going to be able to work with the Labour peers at the moment. We're clearly not going to get on.
No. I mean, Labour are never going to. Labour approve of your imprisonment.
Of course they do.
Labour approve of sending people to jail for tweets. My view is, I mean, first of all,
Party for young working families. Yeah.
Hard-working families. Obviously, you know, when they say, well, the hard-working, this is the party for hard-working people. I always want to say, yeah, well, what about me? What about lazy people like me? Why don't you stand up for me? But seriously, the Reform, I think, do want to work with you as an advocate of free speech and as a citizen of this country, as someone who's suffered because of this. Do you worry about the erosion of freedom of speech? Because you are a serious victim of that.
Massively. At the end of the day, what I said wasn't nice, and I appreciate that. And like I said, it wasn't my finest moment. But are we really, really putting people, mothers in prison for essentially, as you say, hurty words? They could have dealt with me in other ways. There's communities. There's 1,001 other ways you can deal with people that, you know, have done something they shouldn't have done. You know, putting a mother in prison, taking them away from their child at a cost of the taxpayer of a minimum of £55,000 a year. How is that a good use? How is that in the public's interest? Are we putting women in prison for things like this, you know? And,
I know journalists who...
Do we have free speech in this country or do we not have free speech in this country?
Exactly. I know journalists who say, oh, she's a convicted criminal. Well, I always said, yeah, she's wrongly convicted. You know, the law can be an ass.
Sarah Poachin put it really well the other day when she was being questioned. They said, oh, you know, do you think Lucy Connolly's a hero? And she said, no, I don't think she's a hero, but I think she's a victim of you know, an unjust system, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's Lucy Connolly, and you know, you saw that lady. I mean, think about that. That lady, that very nice lady, she's a lovely lady actually. She was put in jail. People are put in jail because they are considered to be a danger to society, a threat to people on the outside. Lucy Connolly, that woman was considered to be a danger to you and me if she was out on the streets. What a load of claptrap. She's quite right. You know, I don't agree with hate laws at all, hate crime laws. But if we must have them, at the very least, that woman should have got a caution or a fine. Sending her to jail was a disgrace. And I think that if we're going to have free speech, she should have been allowed to say what she said. But I'm an absolutist on that. A lot of people will say, oh, well, it was terrible and all that. She doesn't like what she said. She admits it. But you saw that lady. You think she would ever be a danger to society? Come on. So, Keir Starmer, we've had free speech in this country for a long time. We're very proud of that. Free speech, mate. You're sending people to jail for tweets. Don't you dare say you believe in free speech if you're going to do that. That's why the Americans are so shocked. Now, we better go to break now. When we come back, we'll talk about Piers Morgan and Ed Davey. I think we'll have another little chat about the Rotherham situation. And in my show, What Just Happened, we'll show you a clip of that when we come back. There's a little bit more from Lucy talking about Charlie Kirk. So that's quite interesting as well. So stay tuned, folks. We'll go to break now. Back in a moment.
against the October 7th massacre because that was a popular decision on the Palestinian street. And the reason that that barbaric violence was so popular among Palestinians is because they think the world is rewarding them for it. They see countries lining up to recognize a Palestinian state, not as a reward for peace, but as a reward for the October 7th massacre, and they get the message that terrorism works. This step that the UK is about to take will only make Hamas more popular.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Obviously, we're going to run a bit late now, so because of Lucy Connolly there. More of that, as I say, in a little while on my show, What Just Happened. In fact, should we just play you a quick clip from What Just Happened? That's coming up at 9 o'clock. It'll take you through to 10 o'clock. Here's a little sample. Is it just me? I mean, I'm not particularly familiar with Jimmy Kimmel's body of work, but he's not very funny, is he?
No. None of them are. I'm like, good riddance, goodbye. You never made me laugh, apart from those videos that he used to do where he used to get kids candy taken away after Halloween, and that was pretty much it. I mean, he's not funny, and the thing is, all these monologues,
He's not funny.
But he's not. I mean,
That's funny.
There you go, that's us discussing Jimmy Kimmel, the former American late-night TV chat show host, sacked this week for ludicrous comments in which he said that the guy who allegedly assassinated poor Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, was a Trump supporter, part of the MAGA movement. Because he wasn't, he was left-wing and a trans rights obsessionalist. But Jimmy, being a left-wing, he didn't fancy that. Didn't fancy him being on his side of the fence, so he just pretended that Jimmy Kimmel was a Trump supporter because that fitted his worldview. You can't stand there and just lie to the public if you're on a big TV show like that. So when people say, oh, freedom of speech, you know, he got cancelled, he should be... No. It wasn't about freedom of speech. I can't sit here and tell you a barefaced lie of that magnitude. I would deserve to be sacked. I know, you're hoping I say that now, aren't you? But seriously, Jimmy Kimmel, he went because he lied to the public. You can't do that. He's an idiot. He's not, and
Samara's right.
As I think we were sort of gently pointing out, he's not funny. Yeah. Let's cover this story now. Let's talk about Ed Davey, Mr. Ed. Without a doubt, the stupidest man in Westminster.
And I mean, that's quite the title.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a competitive race to be the stupidest man in
I don't say
Westminster.
that lightly.
Yeah, I mean, there's some tough competition that he's beaten
against
out there.
stiff opposition. This guy is the biggest idiot in Parliament.
Yeah, he really is.
And he sat down with Piers Morgan for Piers Morgan Uncensored. And you think that by now, a politician of his alleged standing, he's a party leader, you'd think by now he might have learned not to fall into this bear trap, this rabbit hole. Piers, you know, hey, can a woman have a penis? You know, it's a bit like the old days. You remember when politicians, people just sit down and go, have you ever taken drugs? And they all say, what I will say is the war on drugs, you know, no, have you ever taken drugs? And then after about a year of these idiots, these fools making complete asses of themselves, some politician said, you know what, you might as well be honest.
Yeah,
of course I did when I was at university. You know, because people don't believe you that you've never taken drugs. And and in that way, this nonsense of, you remember Keir Starmer, you know, 99% of women can't have penises.
The best was David Lammy.
So 1% can?
Yeah.
No, Keir. So politicians have learned that when you somebody says, "Come on, woman have a penis," no, of course she can't.
Or if you do believe that, say you believe that. What Ed Davey did here was he just kind of weaseled around it. It just made it look 10 times worse. If you genuinely believe that nonsense, go into it.
Well,
double down. If you're gonna say something stupid, double down.
Pete, you're in politics. If you genuinely believe that and you're in politics, keep it to yourself. Because it'll make you look like a total moron.
True.
Talking of which, here's Ed Davey denying. He actually did. He refused 10 times. Piers asked him 10 times, "Can a woman have a penis?" Have a look at the flavour of his ludicrous answers.
For the record, do you believe women can have a penis?
For over 20 years, we've had a Gender Recognition Act which has said that people who want to change their gender can do so.
But do you believe that women can have a penis?
I've explained that I think the vast majority of people have the same gender.
Not people, women. Can women have a penis?
So what I'm saying is...
Well, can they or not?
Oh my God.
10 times, please. Come on. Can a woman have a penis? That was the nature of his answer. As I say, he's got to get with the programme.
Oh, yes.
Even the stupidest Labour politicians stopped that nonsense.
Yeah, do you know?
And he's still there. This is 3 years ago.
Everyone always used to say, why do they keep asking that question? Because it became the barometer of how much of a moron were you and how much of a captured individual were you. How much were you really invested in this woke nonsense? Because if you couldn't answer that, or you did what Ed Davey did and you weasel around it, you're trying to play both sides of an argument. You're not taking a position. And that is the worst thing you could do in front of the British public.
And also, on a serious note, it is the denial of science.
I've said this from day one.
It is the denial of biological fact. You know, how could he be so stupid as to fall for that?
Because he's either trying to play politics or he genuinely believes it, or he doesn't know what to say, because the Lib Dems are so kind of all over the place as a political party that they've got different factions and he's got to try and hold it all together. But, you know, the guy's too busy doing roly-polies for anybody to care. You know, he's doing Takeshi Cassie auditions.
Water skiing and all that kind of stuff.
We do have to talk about the fact that, you know, they do have like 72 seats in the House of Commons. They are a political force.
Which is what's so worrying.
Which is really worrying. But people, they are the definition of a protest party. Like, people vote for them because they're not the other two. That will all change with reform now. They're in a lot of trouble. Or they might do really well because they won't vote for Labour, they don't like the Tories, so the next logical step will be the Lib Dems or the Greens. But
isn't his background is some sort of rural solicitor or
something like that? He looks like he should be on some kind of ITV murder mystery drama.
Well, I'm not sure he should be starring in anything, but he doesn't do his party any favours with that.
Well, to be honest,
he never does.
He never does his party. Like, I always say to people who are Lib Dems, they do exist. I have to admit, they're a rarity, but you know, you can't be happy with that. You cannot be happy with the man doing these stunts, thinking that he's trying to make a point and say, "Oh, well, he's getting attention." Right. He's not. What he's doing is he's making a fool of himself. He's not raising issues because people aren't talking about the issue. They're talking about him doing the stunt. People have to understand the difference.
So listen, folks, we're going to go to break now, and if you like, give us a call and tell us whether or not you think a woman can have a penis. 0344 499 1000. I'm not going to repeat the joke I made about Ed Davey in the office a little earlier. That would probably put me into a Jimmy Kimmel situation, so better not do that one. But let me know. I mean, you know, obviously a woman can't have a penis, but let me know what you think about the depths of the stupidity of a politician who can't bring himself to declare a scientific fact, and in fact, in so doing, denies a biological truth. What on earth is he thinking? 0344 499 1000. Also give us a call about the Rotherham scandal, you know, the absolute scandal that 14 years the coppers did nothing. And the fact that, first of all, we don't know when this damn inquiry that we've been promised is going to happen, who's going to chair it, and also the fact that not a single one of these people, these coppers, for example, cited in this report, the teachers, the social workers, the authority, the local councillors, all of whom knew, senior coppers, all of whom knew about these rape gangs, not a single one of those people have been brought to justice. charged, prosecuted. Not a single one. That's another scandal in itself. 0344 499 1000. Let's talk about that and other issues when we come back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's take some calls. I'm still with Pete Barnes, political strategist, my Friday friend. He can get stuck in as we chat to some of the audience as well. So let's go straight to David, who actually is in Rotherham. Hello, David. I mean, we kind of know this story, don't we? But now it's been confirmed that coppers in Rotherham turned a blind eye for 14 years. That's a disgrace, isn't it?
It certainly is. Good evening, Kevin. I spoke to you actually last week about Mandelson.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
When you started about Rotherham tonight, it brought us all back. Because when this kicked off, because it started with Rotherham, there was there was a public meeting in the town hall. And when I checked up on it and saw a picture, hardly anyone went to it other than the families that were involved. So I said to my wife, we must go. If there's another one, sure enough, there's another one. We went to it. Yeah. Because the people that run Rotherham, the council, the police, and all the social workers, they have their say and whatnot. And then they said, has anyone got anything to say? So I put my hand up and says, brought the mic to me. And I can't remember what I said to him, but the last thing I did say to him was, I said, we have a wonderful law in this country called not doing your duty in a public office, and you can be prosecuted. I says, I hope that one day some of you get a knock on the door at 5 o'clock in the morning and arrested for what's happening now.
I think, David, there's another law that all of these people who turned their backs, who knew about this, is facilitating a crime. Yeah. And the real scandal, obviously, we're talking, by the way, the scale of the rape gang scandal is that as many as 250,000 vulnerable young white girls could have been, that may be the tally of young girls who were raped, tortured, drugged, abused, by these gangs of Muslim men, mostly of Pakistani origin. And of course, that in itself is a scandal. But scandal upon scandal, the other scandal is that no one has been brought to justice for ignoring this, for turning their backs. And when these two people, whistleblowers, went to the authorities, went to the police watchdog and said, look, this has been going on 14 years. Their complaint was confirmed in 2022, so 3 years ago. We only know about it now because these Yorkshire Police, South Yorkshire Police, did their level best to keep that suppressed. They challenged the truth of these findings when they must have known it's true. So they're still doing it, right, Pete?
Yeah, 100%. And the one thing I would also say, one thing I would say.
Hang on a second, David.
I was just going to say, I would remind people that we moved heaven and earth to put Lucy Connolly in prison. They moved the entire justice system in weeks to be able to get that done. On this, 14 years, and we're still nowhere near justice. This is about political will. It is about moving the system, and like you said, Kevin, it's about the system now protecting itself. These institutions cannot be trusted to investigate themselves at all.
It's two-tier. That's what it is, David, if I can use that expression.
But we've got the various MPs in South Yorkshire. I think it's only Sarah Champion that I've ever heard say anything about it. We've got John Healy. He's never said a word about it in public that I can recall.
Yeah, down in London,
You've also got that ex-police officer, Maggie Oliver over in Lancashire. You know, they try to.
Well, she's the whistleblower in the first place. Justice still has not been achieved in any way whatsoever. We need that inquiry. What's happened to that? Down in London, David, Sadiq Khan, our mayor, his approach. we apparently. In London, there is still going on, apparently. There's a big rape gang problem. Sadiq Khan's approach to it is to stick his fingers in his ears and go la 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 and act like it's not happening. He won't take questions on it. He won't answer questions on it. It's as if he ignores it, it will go away. Well, it damn well won't. It's a serious problem.
I shouldn't say this, Kevin, but I'm a Yorkshireman, you see.
I can tell that. Yeah.
If you think it, you say it. Of what ethnic minority is he from?
Well, it's the
same team, isn't it? Let's face it.
I wouldn't. To be fair, I wouldn't put it down to his Muslim faith. It's just that's the way he is. Yeah. It's about maintaining his own reputation. It's about trying to pretend that he hasn't presided over a similar scandal to what was going on in your town, all across the north, and in fact all across the country. David, good call. I've got to move on, mate. But thanks very much for an excellent call.
I think it's really important as well to bring up the fact what you said, Kevin, that this is still going on.
All over the country.
It's not a historic thing.
You're right.
It is a current thing that is happening, and yet again people are looking the other way and nobody's going to prison.
Absolutely right. And all these people who turn their backs, they should be brought to justice, particularly the police chiefs, the senior coppers, the teachers, the social workers, the local councillors. They all turn their back for one reason. If I go into this, if I start making a noise about this, people might say I'm racist. They might say I'm Islamophobic. They thought that their reputations, as non-racists and non-Islamophobes were more important than the fact that young, white, vulnerable girls were being raped, drugged, tortured and shockingly abused. It really is a disgrace.
It's foul.
Let's go to a break, and when we come back, more of your calls. Stay tuned.
the Muslim leaders in this country, those who are spreading and proselytizing the Muslim faith, believe they don't really need terrorism anymore to get their message across. They are doing it through the ballot box and the womb.
Exactly.
And that is the expression that was accepted by a leading member of the Muslim member of the House of Lords. And this is the problem we face. While we sit there like frogs in a saucepan, the water's boiling. In fact, I think we're already hard boiled.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just about 10 minutes ago. Interesting text here. Didn't read enough text today, but busy show, you understand. Shabala Mahmood, this is from Margaret in Birmingham. Shabala Mahmood has been Home Secretary since the 5th of September, and since then more than 2,000 migrants have come into the country. Tough as nails.
Yeah.
Hard, yeah, tough, yeah, right. Starmer has no intention of stopping the invasion of this country. Why? There has to be a reason. I actually think, you know, in his heart of hearts, he does love the idea of no borders, free movement, migrants coming here. But because of the political expediency of the situation, he would love nothing more than to solve this crisis, because it is the biggest injury, damage to his administration. But he can't, because he's useless.
Yeah, I go back to the question you were asking about what is the point of the one in, one out. It's because he gets to say, but I did deport people. If you look at how they handled the kind of the allegations of the expenses and all that stuff, we followed the letter of the law. Like it is the kind of, well, I did do it. Like he gets to say that.
Yeah, they made it a cool. You're right. They've made it a cool celebrity. You know, we are going to get someone back under the one in, one out scheme. They've forgotten what it's actually for. The idea is that if migrants coming on the small boats know that 1 in 17 of them might get deported back to France, that will be a deterrent, and they'll all go, ooh, I don't want to be the 1 in 17, so I don't think I'll risk this.
Yeah.
Rubbish. That makes it well worth the risk, well worth a roll of the dice. That's why 800 migrants came across the channel today.
When we said stop the boats, we didn't mean start the planes.
Yeah, exactly. Start the planes. Yeah, that's great.
That is not what we meant.
Yeah. So Rishi Sunak, didn't he, used to sit there with stand there and put a lectern saying, stop the boats.
Yeah.
Starmer should start the plane.
It wasn't the mode of transport that we had the issue with.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens tomorrow, if it's true that a plane load.
But I would also point out that when she was Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood actually wanted to increase legal aid to asylum seekers, by the way. So she has a history of... She's not tough talking.
You saw what she's like at the beginning of this show, over in Lesbos. Oh, look, isn't it wonderful? We're giving them food. Look, they're all coming in. Oh, great. Welcome to Europe. That's your Home Secretary for you. Let's go to Tina in Spain. Hello, Tina.
Hi, Kevin. I'm probably going to get shot for saying this, but I think we're ignoring the elephant in the room with the Rotherham grooming scandal.
Which is what?
There's a certain percentage of the community working within the police force in these areas. There are a certain percentage of a community working in the council. There's a certain percentage of this same community.
So you're saying it's people looking after their own? Is that what you're saying?
I think that there's a conflict of interest. I think that they're going to protect their own.
Well, I mean, it's possible, Tina. We don't know that, but yeah, that kind of factionalism, I guess, should be factored in, if I can put it that way. You know, we don't know that, but you can imagine, or I can understand why people might have those suspicions. I actually don't think it's fair to say about Sadiq Khan, who is a Muslim, that, you know, he is there for the Muslim community. I think he does try to serve all of London except for people who've got any money.
Yes.
Except for people who own cars.
Yeah, when it
I
comes
don't think it's a race-religion issue for Sadiq Khan.
No, I agree with you on that. I think it's an ego and an image thing for him.
He's just a slimy politician.
He's just a slime ball.
Yeah, slimy politician. Tina, I take your point, but I know what you mean, but we can't know that, but it's certainly understandable that people might suspect that. Tina, thanks for the call. Call me again. Let's quickly, we're nearly over now. Let's talk to Caroline in London. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Kevin. Great to talk to you. I'll just make 3 points, if I may. The first one is about the rape gangs, which is something I feel very strong. I've been following this for quite a long time. We talk about this all the time. There's never going to be justice. These police officers, these counsellors, these social workers, they are never going to be...
Certainly looking that way, Caroline. Yeah, I agree. What's the other point you'd like to make?
Right, 2 more, actually.
Got to be quick. Come on.
Tommy Robinson made that film, and it all showed the unbelievable corruption, and he was vilified for telling the truth. And millions saw that film. The other point is, I don't agree with you about Sadiq Khan. If it was white people doing this...
I don't agree with that. I think the people he doesn't like are rich people, people who own cars, people who own expensive property. He's an old school socialist, and he wants to look after people who don't have any money, if you like, the underprivileged, the poor, and can't stand. He wants to punish those of us, who maybe have got a couple of quid or live in a nice house or whatever. That's the way he is. I don't think it's fair to talk about him favouring Muslims. I really don't.
And for me, one thing
I don't support Sadiq Khan easily.
Yeah, me neither. And what I would say for this is we have to be very careful not to politicise the grooming gangs more than it is already politicised.
Exactly right.
This is a really important moment for the country that we get this right. Using it to just bash politicians that we don't like is not how we fix this.
I agree. But listen, Caroline, good call. Thank you very much. Let's quickly, can we get Grace in Ealing on to us, please? Is Grace there? Grace, very quickly, Grace, you haven't got long.
Okay,
I've got a note saying that you thought Ed Davey was trying to be kind when he said that women can't have penises. Well, no, that's not good. That's not an excuse for sitting there telling stupid lies, is it?
I would concur. I've heard that he is a Christian, and I think that as Christians we do need to have compassion. And
Christians should know about biological facts, should not defy science.
I completely agree. I mean, I came to believe in God whilst I was studying biology, and I think that what Ed Davey and others should consider is that agreeing with people and having compassion are not exactly the same thing. So we believe as Christians that Jesus died for our sin, and also, he loves us. So agreeing with us and doing...
what's that got to do with Ed Davey saying that women can